I still remember the feeling that night. Sitting alone on my couch, staring at the bills stacked in front of me. The apartment was quiet, the kind of quiet that presses into your chest until you can barely breathe. I couldn't tell if the tightness in my chest was anger, exhaustion, or just the creeping realization that maybe I was losing more than money. I kept turning the same question over in my head. Am I the bad guy here? We had been together for almost 2 years. 2 years of weekends at her place, dinners out, and the kind of laughter that made your cheeks hurt. I liked her, more than I probably should have. She made life feel lighter, like I wasn't carrying the world on my shoulders every single day. But even from the start, something felt unbalanced. I was used to paying for dates, covering dinners, grabbing drinks, and even ordering takeout for her when she was too tired to cook. I never minded. In fact, I liked it. It made me feel protective. It made me feel wanted. And yet, I started noticing little things. The way she'd casually assume I would pick up the tab. The way she'd get quiet if I suggested splitting something small. Or worse, how she'd make a disappointed face when I didn't jump at her request immediately. At first, I told myself I was imagining it. Relationships had phases. This was normal. Her apartment became our weekend headquarters. I'd stay over most Saturdays, sometimes a weeknight if I could get away from work. Every time I arrived, I'd stock the fridge, pick up groceries, buy coffee if hers ran out. I didn't mind the small tasks, but I realized one morning as I showered in her tiny bathroom that my life at her place was almost invisible. I didn't leave clothes there, didn't cook, barely touched the space beyond what I needed to be comfortable. I was a guest who always paid his way. And yet, she had started keeping score. The first real tension came in December. She had planned a 10-day trip to Miami with her friends, partying, eating out, lounging in a hotel she booked herself. When she called me with the news she'd stayed 2 extra days, I didn't respond with outrage. I was tired, trying to be supportive, but I did voice a quiet concern. "You're spending a lot," I said. My voice felt small, unsure. "If money's tight, this seems a little risky." "I deserve it," she said simply. Not defensively, not apologetically, just matter of fact. Deserve it. The words echoed in my head later that night. While she was away, she asked me to cover her electricity and internet bills. My first reaction was hesitation. I wanted to help if she truly needed it, but when she insisted this wasn't optional, that it was expected at this point, something inside me froze. I could feel the tightness in my chest again. Expected? My hands shook slightly as I stared at the numbers. It wasn't that I didn't want to help. It was that the expectation felt like entitlement, not need. When I explained my perspective, I tried to keep my voice calm. I told her I was saving carefully so we could move in together in 6 months. I wanted our future to be stable, comfortable. I wanted to make sure we both had security. Her response cut deeper than I anticipated. "So you're not ready for me," she said. Her voice trembled, not with fear, not with sadness, but accusation, like I had failed her. I stared at the phone in my hand, quiet. I couldn't find the right words. I wanted to say, "I'm working for us. I'm doing this for both of us." But instead, all I could think was, why does wanting a future feel like betrayal? The argument escalated quickly after that. I don't want to have to ask you to pitch in for my bills, she said, voice rising. I want you to do it on your own. I took a deep breath, trying to slow my heartbeat. It doesn't seem like help. It feels like entitlement. You're asking me to cover expenses while you spend freely on trips. A silence hung between us. Not the kind of quiet that's comfortable, but the heavy, suffocating quiet of someone realizing their words might hurt someone they love, or someone realizing they've been treated unfairly for too long. She didn't answer immediately, and when she finally did, her voice was soft, almost pleading. You don't understand. This isn't about money. It's about love, about commitment. I paused. I remembered every weekend I'd stocked her fridge, every time I'd driven us to dinner, picked up the tab without complaint, made the small sacrifices that added up. And yet, it didn't matter. None of it was enough. I remember looking out the window that night, at the city lights blurred by rain. My hands were gripping the edge of the counter like I could steady myself against the spinning. A question whispered in my mind. Am I wrong for drawing a line? I thought about the future I'd planned, moving in together, saving, building stability. I thought about the freedom she had with her credit card, the Miami trip, the sense that all of it was hers to do and all I could do was follow along. I wanted to be loving. I wanted to be generous, but I also wanted to be respected. And suddenly, I wasn't sure either was possible. I didn't yell. I didn't slam doors. I just said quietly, I can't cover your bills under these circumstances. And then I waited. The silence that followed was heavier than any argument we'd had before. I could hear her breathing on the other side of the line. I could imagine her hands trembling, maybe holding the phone too tight. I wanted to reach out. I wanted to apologize. But for what? For protecting my future? For finally standing my ground? That night, I lay awake thinking about the last 2 years. The dinners I had paid for. The weekends I spent mostly alone at her place, contributing in every way except space and time. The countless small ways I'd tried to show care and love, and the way it had been dismissed, rewritten as not enough. I realized, painfully, that love wasn't always enough when expectations weren't aligned. And maybe, I thought bitterly, maybe I had been too kind for my own good. I still replay that conversation sometimes. The weight of it presses against me. Not just because of the money, but because it revealed something deeper. A mismatch in how we valued each other. A truth I couldn't unhear. A choice I couldn't undo. Sometimes I wonder if she even remembers the argument the same way I do. Or if she only remembers what she lost, me, and not the tension, the feeling that I had been pushed too far. I don't know if we'll ever reconcile. I don't know if she thinks I was unfair or if she believes I was selfish. All I know is that I had to stop paying. Not because I didn't love her, but because love shouldn't feel like a trap. Because sometimes, standing your ground is the only way to preserve yourself. And sometimes, the hardest thing you can do in a relationship is say no. After that night, things didn't explode immediately. There was no dramatic confrontation, no shouting match that left marks on walls or doors, just a quiet, heavy distance that settled between us, like dust over furniture you don't notice until you move it. I started noticing things I had ignored before. Small habits, subtle expectations, the way she assumed I would pay for everything without question, the way she framed generosity as a measure of love. The more I looked, the more I realized it wasn't just about bills, it was about control. And yet, I couldn't stop questioning myself. Was I being unreasonable? I thought about the Miami trip again. 10 days of partying, eating out, staying in hotels, using her new credit card like it was endless. She had paid for herself, yes, but she had the nerve, while away, to demand I cover utilities. I kept turning it over in my head, trying to see it from her perspective. Maybe she really felt unsupported. Maybe she saw my saving as coldness, not planning. But the thought didn't sit right. Not when I remembered every weekend I had spent buying groceries, picking up coffee, ordering takeout. Not when I remembered that I had never once asked her to cover me for anything significant. I had been generous, consistent, reliable. I tried to bring it up gently once more. "Look, I want to help when it's really needed," I said. "But I can't cover regular bills while you spend freely. It doesn't feel fair." She looked at me as if I had just said the most selfish thing imaginable. Her eyes narrowed, and I saw the hurt, but not the understanding. The hurt wasn't at her predicament. It was at me, standing my ground. "You don't get it," she said softly, venom creeping into her tone. "This isn't about money. It's about showing I'm loved. You're supposed to know what I need." I swallowed hard. I wanted to explain that love isn't measured by spending, that I had been showing it every weekend, every meal, every small act that had gone unnoticed. But I didn't, because she wouldn't see it. Not now, not ever. That night, lying alone in my apartment, I felt the weight of our 2-year relationship pressing down on me like a physical force. I remembered sitting at her kitchen table, peeling off the plastic wrapping from a bag of groceries I had bought, and realizing I had been almost invisible in her own space. She had assumed my presence as a given, my contributions as a given. And in a quiet, unspoken way, she had been keeping score. It wasn't dramatic, not at first. Just subtle, persistent, like a slow drip, a quiet erosion of what I thought we had built together. The next few weeks were unbearable. Every time I saw her, the conversation veered back to money. Every time she smiled, I felt a twinge of resentment I hated myself for. I wanted to care, to act normal, to pretend nothing had happened. But inside, something had broken. I started asking myself quiet, terrifying questions. Am I being selfish? Am I failing her as a partner? Or am I finally seeing the truth? Truth, I realized, is never gentle. It never comes wrapped in comfort or reassurance. It's harsh, cold, and sharp. And it always forces you to confront yourself. Eventually, I made a decision I had been circling for weeks. I would no longer pay her bills. Not her electricity, not her internet, not a single cent for something she could cover herself. I wouldn't let my desire to be loving be twisted into a permission slip for entitlement. When I told her, she cried. Not in anger, but in frustration and disbelief. I remember standing there, feeling the tension radiate between us, realizing that no matter what I said, no matter how gently I explained my reasoning, it wouldn't matter. Because she didn't want fairness. She wanted unquestioned support. She wanted a constant, unconditional yes. And I wasn't willing to give it. Since then, our relationship has never been the same. We still see each other sometimes, still talk, still laugh occasionally. But there is a quiet barrier now, invisible yet impenetrable. A distance that wasn't there before. Every interaction is measured, every gesture analyzed. I can't go back. I can't unmake my decision. And I can't lie to myself about what it revealed. Love isn't always enough when boundaries are ignored. Generosity isn't a substitute for respect. And standing your ground? Sometimes that's the only way to preserve yourself, even if it means losing someone you care about. Sometimes, late at night, I think about her. I wonder if she remembers those conversations the same way I do. If she thinks I was unfair, or if she even understands why I made the choice I did. But the truth is simple and unchanging. I loved her enough to say no. And that love didn't save us.